Hey everybody, I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. And I'm gonna give you guys a chance to pop into the live conversation that we're about to have. I want to kind of dig into this election fever that we're kind of experiencing right now, where all throughout the United States, everybody's talking about these elections, voting. You got some exciting black candidates on the docket, mainly in Georgia and was it Georgia and Florida? You got Stacey Abrams and the brother Andrew Gillum, and I'm excited too. I think it's really interesting to watch what happens, and I wish them the best. If you ask me, would I rather elect Andrew Gillum or some crusty old white man? I'm going to say Andrew Gillum. He gets my vote in that regard. But anyway, what I want to kind of drill into, kind of has to do with, some stuff that I saw in the press. Well, not in the press, on social media. The rapper Common, who seems like a decent dude. He's a decent guy, other than the fact that he dated that ridiculous toad Angela Rye, who's I think is just garbage. She's a terrible human being. I met her in person. I was stunned at how much of a jerk she was. But Common seems like a decent guy. He's a smart guy. He seems to want to do the right thing. I like what he represents for hip hop. Ice Cube was one of my favorite rappers, and he had a beef with Ice Cube way back in the day, and I didn't think it was fair. I felt like Ice Cube was actually wrong in the beef with Common. That's how much I respect Common. He's from Chicago. He seems to want to do good things. What I do think, though, at the same time, is that Common, unfortunately, is caught up in between these different worlds. He does, as you say right there, he's done it. He's got caught cooning a couple of times too. Let's just be real. He got caught cooning a couple of times. I don't know if y'all remember when he went on that show. I don't know if it was Jimmy Fallon or it was one of those white TV shows, and he was saying something about I just want to put the past behind us so we can all get along or something. And I was like, is Rodney King in the building? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, did you just say that? And of course, the white people are like, oh my goodness, oh, he's such a delightful Negro. Oh my goodness, Hercules, right? Like they love him. Like they were really like that. They were doing what white people do. Like they love black people who make them comfortable. That's kind of what they enjoy. And so Common, unfortunately, I think he probably should have just not said anything about it. I think he probably should have just not brought it up. I think that when you've got hip hop artists or entertainers that don't want to be radical, they should just not be political at all. If I were a well-known person, in that space, trying to get jobs in Hollywood, trying to not get white people too mad at me to not write a check, I would probably just not even touch it. I would either pound it or don't touch it. Pound it or don't touch it, right? And I think some of these guys they do it and they just get it wrong. I remember I had one conversation. I've only talked to LL Cool J one time. And I talked to him once on the phone because Russell Simmons asked me to talk to him about some shit that he said on the show that was ridiculous. I don't remember what it was, but we talked for a minute, and I remember I just gave him about 10 minutes of coaching and said, I think the best way to deal with this is to just be honest. Just go out and be honest. Just say what's on your mind, and and it is what it is. And I think he took the advice because I saw him on another show and he said, well, I just want to be honest and say blah, 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 blah. So apparently he must have listened. But, it's kind of like entertainers are an interesting group of people in the sense that they have a lot of power. And because black people, we love entertainers more than anything else. We put entertainers on a pedestal above everyone else. So because entertainers have all this power, what we do is we put them in situations that are really honestly above their pay grade. You put them in situations where you get people like Kanye West being out there, just saying stuff that literally sounds like he's straight off the fucking slave ship, and off the illiterate slave ship, off the, they have the big bus and the little bus for the kids that are a little slow. They have the big slave ship, maybe the little slave ship or something. I don't know. But literally he was on the slave ship for disabled kids and comes out and just sounds like a complete, I want to say, I'm not going to be mean. I'm sorry. I'm going to take that back. I know people that know Kanye, so I'm not trying to be a jerk. He did not seize the opportunity, I think, when it came to him speaking with Donald Trump. I don't agree with anybody who thinks that it's not Kanye's right to support who he wants to support. I think it's wrong. I think it's really morally wrong for you to not want to cut somebody off as your friend because of what they believe in. Like, I think that's bullshit. I had somebody that I worked with where I treated her very well, put money in her pocket, did all these things, all these favors to help her. And then next thing I know, she said, somebody says, well, she wants to distance herself from you because of your position on the Me Too movement. And I said, well, let me do the distancing for you, motherfucker. How about I distance you away from me? Because I want to be distanced away from fake ass, lying ass people. Seriously, like, if I treat you with respect, if I have come through for you and helped you more than any of these politicians ever will, I have put money in your pocket. I have been a brother to you despite your political views. I did not ask you if you vote Democrat or Republican, and I've been there for you, but yet you somehow get all scary because you think I'm a little too controversial. Well, those are not the people I want to be around. I don't want to be around fake people. I want to be around people that are not afraid to be who they are. And I'm going to tell y'all this right now, make this point blank, plain, simple, period. I don't care who you voted for. I do not care. You could tell me you voted for Hillary Clinton, and I'm gonna say, okay. You could tell me you're a feminist, and I'm gonna say, okay, fine. I'm not gonna get mad about that. I just want to make sure you're not, one of the toxic feminists. Just like you won't hold it against me that I'm a man. But if I say, well, by the way, I am a rapist who likes to sexually harass women as well, then you're gonna stay away from me. But as long as if I'm like I'm a decent man, then you shouldn't hold that against me. So ultimately, I think the idea that we are disavowing ourselves from people because of what political party they're in is a huge, huge mistake. These politicians don't care nothing about you. They're not going to have your back. They're not going to support your community. They don't love you. They're never going to help you. They don't really care much about anything that happens in your life. So anyway, with rapper Common, that's probably where I stand with Common. If I were to ever bump into him, I was supposed to actually meet him at UCLA. The UCLA Black Alumni Association reached out to me when I was in Guyana and asked me to come all the way to California from Guyana, which was a hell of a trip, to be on a panel with Common and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and some other people. And from what I understood, Angela Rye was there, and because she was mad at me because I called her out over the bullshit that she did in Oklahoma. I have a real issue with people that don't respect the people that support them and put money in their pocket to help them out. I kid you not, her behavior was sad. It saddened me. It made me really sad, honestly. And I made her apologize. I told her, I said, you need to apologize to those people because they paid you money and they showed respect to you, and you disrespected them by not even acknowledging them, not even saying goodbye, not even talking to them, and getting on stage and acting like an ass and all this other crazy stuff. And anyway, so I guess she was still mad about that. So literally, I think it came down to like Boyce versus Common. Like if you put Boyce Watkins on stage, then I'm taking Common off the stage. I guess maybe he was being bossed around by her or something. I don't know. But basically, if it's me versus Common, I mean, who are you gonna pay? He's a big celebrity. He's in white people's movies and stuff. White people will never love me. They'll never put me in a movie. So I would probably pick him too. So the issue wasn't so much that I didn't get to go on stage. I was really surprised they invited me anyway. I talk all kinds of shit about these white universities and how racist they are. So I didn't understand why they would even want me there. But my thing was, if you're going to use my time and I spend money getting on a plane, flying all the way across the country to do this, then you owe me some money. That's why we talked about filing legal action and all that, because I was like, I know you're scared of being, of the type of blackness I bring to the table. I know that makes you nervous. You're going to get in trouble with your overseer. But don't mess with it. Look, if that's who you are, if that's the space you navigate in, don't try to play both sides of the fence. And I think that's the thing. I think that some of us get to the point where we're afraid to be black in public, and that's okay. Just if you're scared, stay scared. Don't pretend to be one thing when really you're something else. And I think that that's the issue I have with a lot of black politicians is they really don't want to. They really want you to think that they're really down for black folks when, unfortunately, they're incarcerated. They're locked up. They can't, like if you're trying to do these $5 million, $10 million movies, and you're sitting next to the Harvey Weinsteins of the world and the Trump supporters of the world and these Hollywood Jewish people and everything else, they have all the power in Hollywood. It's hard for you to serve both masters, so to speak. It's hard for you to really authentically advocate for black people because these people hate black people. They don't have any respect for the black community. There's a video somebody sent me, and I'm actually talking about Common in a second. I swear this links to the whole topic of Common. This is not too much of a diversion, but there's a video somebody sent me about how racist Hollywood is and how they take our best and most talented actors and actresses and turn them into coons, buffoons, pimps, hoes, drug dealers, thugs, or whatever. In fact, I'm gonna pull the video up and I'm gonna play it in a minute. And those who can't see it will be able to hear it. I'm not gonna play it right now. So I'm just gonna pause it. But let me just say this. So here's what I saw with Common, the rapper. It was this meme that came up, and the meme kind of got my attention and made me feel compelled to add some gravity and some insight in terms of what's being said. Because on the surface, it sounds logical. On the surface, it's like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. This is what, yeah, that's right, brother. You say it. And what he says is in this meme, he says, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard to keep you from voting, right? If your vote didn't matter, then they wouldn't be working so hard to keep you from voting. Like, and that's the kind of thing that would get applause. Like, yeah, right? Oprah would say that. Yeah, well, if your vote didn't matter, girl, then they wouldn't be trying so hard to take it now, would they? Right? And so that goes back to the consistent efforts by the Democratic Party to do their number one, to push forward their number one initiative. The number one initiative is to enhance and protect and strengthen Black voter rights, to fight against voter suppression, to have a get out the vote campaign, souls to the polls, rock the vote, vote or die, and what happens is they will go and indoctrinate and compensate, the Black elite to go and push this vote message, which is fine. Again, some of y'all love to vote. Some of y'all really believe in voting, and I'm not here to tell you that that's wrong. I'm not saying that to you. But here's what I want you to understand. I want you to understand the nuance of what they're not going to say to you on mainstream TV. See, Common says, on this meme, which again, these are carefully orchestrated campaigns to get Black people to show up and vote. That's their job. That's their meritorious manumission, as Dr. Claude Anderson talks about in Powernomics. That's the reward from white people that they receive from sort of corralling Black people like sheep or chickens and delivering them to the coop, delivering them to KFC. So here's the thing. He says, if your vote didn't matter, then they wouldn't try so hard to stop you from voting. Here's the deal. He's 100% correct in that votes do matter. Votes matter a lot. Votes are incredibly valuable political and economic capital. Votes can make you rich if you get enough of them. No question about it. Votes give you access to power and control of government resources and all that taxpayer money where you can do whatever you want, pursue your agenda, buy stuff for your friends, hook everybody up, make it rain on the people that you care about. Votes do matter. The issue, though, is that votes tend to matter most for the people who get elected, but they do not benefit people who actually give up the votes to those who are in power. So the question is not whether or not votes matter. That's a given. We know votes matter most of the time. I mean, we have issues with our democracy. Go watch Michael Moore's movie, Fahrenheit 11/9, to understand the issues, the broader issues that all Americans, white, Black, otherwise, should have with the democracy. But votes still matter. The issue is not whether or not votes matter. The issue is who the votes actually benefit. The benefit is the key word, not whether they matter. We know they matter, but who do they benefit? And so when you look at the evidence, Black people do not benefit when they give up their vote. We don't. I mean, I'm going to read you a section in Dr. Claude Anderson's book, A Black History Reader, and I'm going to explain to you, he talks about the Obama presidency. And one of the things he brings up in terms of his data analysis and everything else is that all the decades Black people have been voting for the Democratic Party, we never get the benefits from the votes. But we know the Democrats benefit because they get elected, they get in office. Their friends from Harvard and Yale and their white friends and their liberal white people with their liberal white agendas, they get their agendas pushed forward and they do great. Corporations benefit from the vote, right? We know this, right? And that's why they'll spend money to market to you. If they can vote themselves, they would, but they can't. So what they do is they use their dollars to accelerate marketing to get specific people to come to the polls so they can buy off, the Negro overseers, et cetera, get them to go out and push this message, get everybody to vote, put them in power, and then they use that power to serve themselves and to serve their other wealthy friends. And so basically, the other day, Dr. Claude Anderson, he came onto the show. He came onto this channel, drboycetv.com. And I pulled up a graphic where we showed that the average income level for Black people in 1967 was at the bottom of the barrel behind every other ethnic group, behind Asians, behind Jews, behind whites, behind Hispanics. We were last place, dead last. 40, 50 years later, after civil rights, after many, many Democratic presidents and vice presidents and governors and mayors and everything else, 50 years after many, 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 many elected Black politicians that we rocked the vote for, when you looked at the ranking in 2014 of average income levels, you saw Asians at the top, Asians who don't even vote, by the way, they don't even vote very much. Asians at the top, you had Jews up there too, whites, Hispanics, Black people at the bottom, at the very, very bottom. Now, Aretha Franklin used to say, ain't nothing going on but the rent. And I know for a lot of Black folks, economics is the number one issue on your mind. How you gonna pay some bills? How you gonna feed your kids? And that's not just true for Black people, it's true nationwide. Any president that can push forward the economy is gonna get support from a lot of people who are like, look, I don't really care about these other issues. All I care about is whether or not I can pay some bills up in this mug, right? So when you use that number one factor of whether or not Black people have a greater ability to pay their bills, you know, as a result of Democrats being elected in office, there is no evidence to support the idea that we are better off economically when they are elected. So again, going back to Common's point, we know votes matter, but the question is who do votes benefit? Votes, you can think of votes a little bit like like dollar bills. Black people are huge spenders. We are huge, huge, huge consumers. We're trained to be consumers from birth. White corporations know it. Jewish businesses know it. Asian hair and nail salons know it. Arab corner stores know it. Latino stores in your neighborhood, they know it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows the value and the power of the Black dollar. And to go back to use Common's words, they know that Black dollars matter. Black dollars matter for them because they're like, if I can't get Black dollars, then I can't send my kids to college. I can't go buy another house. I can't make it in America. I can't go open up another corner store. I can't open up more hair salons. I can't control the hair care industry and get all this money out of these Black women's pockets. So they know Black dollars matter, to use Common's language. Black votes matter, Black dollars matter. But with the Black dollar, the question is not whether or not the dollar matters. The question is, who does that dollar benefit? And we know without question that when we give dollars away without getting anything in return, it's not going to benefit us. The only difference between a Black dollar and a Black vote is that at least when you give a Black dollar, you get something back. You get a product back. You get your hair. You get your new hair weave. You get you know, a bologna sandwich or whatever the hell you bought at the corner store. You know, you get your food. You get your Jordans. You get whatever it is that they give you back. Now that's what they call, what Claude Anderson refers to as the doctrine of unequal exchange. What you're getting back is not of equal value to what you gave up. And that creates what they might call in economics a trade deficit with the rest of the world, meaning that you're giving them this much, they're giving you back that much, right? It's like, imagine if you went to your friends, all your friends, and you gave them $100 bill and they gave you back a 20. Well, that's not going to work out for you, but it's going to be an economic boost to everybody who interacts with you. Well, Black people are deeply engaged in a trade deficit, AKA the doctrine of unequal exchange, because we consistently give more than what we receive. It's like a bad relationship where you give your partner everything and they give you nothing, or you give them everything and they smack you in the face, or you dedicate your life to that person and they cheat on you, lie to you, and then leave you on the street corner. And so with the Democratic Party, I think you know, that's a better question. The question is, who's going to benefit from this vote the same way you look at money? If you think about votes like money, like literally a vote is like a dollar bill that you're pulling out of your pocket and you're handing to a politician, except a vote is probably worth more than a dollar. Maybe it's worth $20, $30, I don't know. Think about this. So imagine when you give a vote, you want to think about it like money. If I give you money, I expect something back. If I am a consumer, I expect my product. I expect my shoes, my you know, my haircut, whatever, my food, whatever I'm gonna get, my movie, whatever. If I'm a smart consumer, then I'm not even consuming at all. I'm actually expecting it to be an investment. I'm going to give you, you know, $10 now. and I want that to grow into $20 so I can actually build some wealth, right? So Black spending power is not Black power. Black spending power should not, the word spending and power should not even be used unless you're talking about empowering somebody else. Black spending power empowers other people. So it shouldn't be called Black spending power, AKA Black power. It should be called perhaps the Black spending sacrifice or the Black spending contribution. Now, Black investing power, now you're on to something. If you're using Black dollars to invest, then that's Black power. Black investing power is Black power. Black spending power is a Black sacrifice. Are you following me? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Okay. Some of y'all asked me about this jacket. I put it on because I thought it was so cool. Somebody at the All Black National Convention was selling it, and and it has stuff on the sleeves and on the back, and it just makes me feel like super Black today. So you can see what's on the back. See that? I can't turn all the way around. I'm looking kind of stupid right now. But anyway, it's a really nice jacket. It's a little bit hot though, so I think I'm gonna take it off. But anyway, if you know who made this jacket, tell them to send me an email or a message or something. I'll give them a shout out on the podcast because I have no idea who made this beautiful jacket. I know I bought it at the All Black National Convention, but it's dope, right? It's pretty cool. Like, so I like to tell you where I got it so that you can go by. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Tribe Apparel Worldwide. That's the name of the company. So there you go. So I have no idea who Tribe Apparel Worldwide is, but maybe they know who they are, I assume. And if you Google it or something, maybe you can find it and you can get you a jacket like this. But this is a really nice jacket. All right. So anyway, but do this for me real quick. Hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button. If you are on the YouTube channel, please hit the thumbs up button really quick. And also, if you want to join our League of Intelligent Black People and support intelligent Black media in exchange for lots of free stuff, we give you lots of stuff back. It's a good exchange. It's unequal for us because we give you probably 10 times more than what you give us. Like you give us $10, we'll give you $100 worth of stuff, but it helps us to support everything that we're doing. So feel free to go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. Now, let me read from Dr. Claude Anderson's book on this issue of Black politics, so we can kind of at least be informed voters, as we move forward. I'm not here to completely disagree with everything that Common said on this meme. He's right that he's right that the Black votes matter. I just want you to ask that better question though. Who does this Black vote benefit? Because everything matters. I mean, if your daughter is giving up sex to every boy in the neighborhood, we know that her body matters. If it didn't matter, but you wouldn't say to her like, well, if your body wasn't precious, then every boy wouldn't be trying to get it. And then say, so you should just be giving it to whoever asked for it. You wouldn't say that. You would say your body's precious and maybe you should save it, keep it for yourself and save it for the right man or the right situation. So I would say the same thing. And you can say that to your son too, right? And I would say the same thing when it comes to voting. I don't believe, it's not that I don't believe Black voting matters. I just believe that we give it up too easy. I believe that we allow other people to come in and lie to us and play with our heads and get us to believe things that aren't true. And next thing you know, we find ourselves on the short end of the stick. So anyway, let me read this to you. This is on page 135. If you have this book, feel free to open it up. Get Dr. Anderson's books for your family. You can go to powernomics.com and get a copy. If you have a copy, take a picture of yourself with it and use the hashtag Powernomics Challenge, and I'll share your image on my Instagram page. All right, so he says, in a speech to the Congressional Black Caucus on September 18th, 2016, President Barack Obama told the assembled Black audience, quote, "I will consider it a personal insult and an insult to my legacy if the Black community does not support Hillary Clinton's candidacy so that she can continue my legacy." Donald Trump, however, was elected as president of the United States of America. In a shocking reversal of voting patterns, Black voters gave Donald Trump 3 times the number of votes they gave the Republican Party in the past 65 years of presidential elections. Black voters who switched their political loyalties from Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party to Donald Trump sent up a distress signal. These Black voters did not want a continuation of President Barack Obama's legacy, nor the traditional way Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party have viewed and treated Black Americans. Blacks wanted a change in their socioeconomic conditions that Obama did not address during his 2 terms. So what a lot of people will say, falsely, just almost abusively, almost like an abusive relationship. And I was mentioning that today on my Facebook page, and I was talking about like don't ever date or marry a selfish person, because if you date or marry a self-centered person, then everything is your fault. It's always about them. If something happens and they do something wrong to you, next thing you know, they're yelling at you, trying to make you apologize. And that's kind of what I see with the Democratic Party. It's like they come up short. They don't do right by black folks. They incarcerate hundreds of thousands of black men, destroy black communities, let black families fall to hell, don't do anything for us economically, ignore us at every turn. And then when black people are like, I don't think I want to be in this relationship, they're like, shut up, bitch. Your ass, you the reason why the family falling apart, bitch, because you ain't doing what you supposed to do, right? Seriously, like that Ike Turner shit. That's what they need to be called the party of Ike Turner, because their behavior toward black people is abusive. It's abusive, right? I mean, think about this. I want you to process this for a minute with me, because this is a stream of consciousness, but imagine a relationship where a man is abusive and neglectful and mistreats a woman over a long period of time. And then the woman says, I don't think I want to be here anymore. I think I want to leave. I think I'm going to stay with my mothers. I may or may not date another man, but I'm not going to date you. And then he goes to her and says, first he gets mad and he's like, what are you talking about? What the hell's wrong with you? And she says, well, I asked you to do this and you didn't do it. And then you did this to me, this to me, this to me. And every single time, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I'll do better, he says, well, the reason I did this is because you did that. The reason I hit you was because you keep nagging me all the time. The reason I don't talk to you no more is because you always yapping and you always in my ear, right? Every time she mentions, it gives him an opportunity to make it right, he flips it and blames it on her. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all ever dated a flipper? I fucking hate that shit. I hate flippers, people that can't take responsibility for their actions. You got female flippers too. So let's just be clear. This ain't just a male thing, right? And then imagine if he does this. Imagine if he does what the Democrats do, right? He guilt trips her. So she's sitting with her mama. She's thinking about trying to be single again, trying to move on. Her self-esteem maybe isn't where it needs to be. So she's trying to get the strength to move away from this relationship. And he shows up with the kids. And he's like, baby, the kids miss you. And if you don't come home, you're a bad mother. And it pulls at your heartstrings and tries to get you to commit to something that is not good for you. And when you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back, then suddenly him and all the neighbors and everybody, even in your own family, is saying, why would you do that? Look at what you're doing to those kids. That's a good man. Why would you act like that toward them? Why would you do that, right? It's your fault when he was the abuser. I almost feel that the Democratic Party does the same thing. If they don't bring, instead of bringing the kids, to the house to make you feel guilty, what they'll do is they'll say, well, I know you don't want to vote because we ain't done shit for you in 30 years, but your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. And if you don't vote, if you don't participate, then you're insulting your ancestors. That is an insult to your ancestors. And you all feeling guilty, like, well, damn, I don't want to insult my ancestors, because think about it. All they got to do, the Democrats don't have to say vote Democratic. All they got to do is say vote, because they know you ain't gonna vote for Republicans. Most black people, I'm not gonna do that, right? So that's why I would almost say to black people, either if you don't vote, that's fine. It's up to you. You do whatever the hell you want. That's it. At the end of the day, do whatever the hell you want. But if you do vote, vote independent. Like, just fuck with them. Be like, yes, we're gonna rock the vote, and we're telling everybody to abandon both the Democratic and Republican parties. We're telling everybody to vote independent. And then what happens is that shit gets called to the carpet. Then they're going to be like, well, if you vote independent, then you're going to get a Republican in office, and the Republicans are going to kill you, and they're going to destroy you, and they're going to bring back slavery, and did Donald Trump get elected, and it'll be all your fault. It'll be all your fault. It's all your fault. No. It's not black people's fault that Donald Trump is in office. It's not. If you didn't vote, it's not your fault Trump's in office. It is their fault, because if they had delivered for black people would have shown up for them just like they showed up for Obama. If you'd have done your motherfucking job, then black people would have had your back 100%. Black people ain't stupid. Some Negroes are debatable, but I'm not calling anybody stupid. There are lots of black people who aren't stupid. who are not going to support something that doesn't make any sense. So you can try to guilt trip them to come back into this abusive relationship. You can try to threaten them if you want to. You can try to make them feel bad. But they're going to say, well, if you really want my participation in this relationship, then you got to show me that you're going to do better. You got to listen to me. You got to let me call the shots for a little while. And if I'm gonna come back in the house, I'll come home with you and the kids. But I need my needs to take top priority for a little while, and not just your needs, because I don't want to date a selfish person, right? So anyway, let me read more. Okay. Black voters, I'm reading from Dr. Claude Anderson's book, The Black History Reader. Take a second, please hit that thumbs up button, share button, subscribe button, and all that. Make sure you also subscribe to drboycetv.com, drboycetv.com. Black voters gave Barack Obama nearly 100% of their vote in both of his national elections, but the quality of life between blacks and whites widened while Obama served as president. So you got your savior, you got your superhero, and everything else. But if he is your superhero and this is a big win for you, then why would our quality of life actually get worse? Cortland Malloy, a columnist for the Washington Post, said in an article in August 2011 that Black America is crying the blues like no time since the Great Depression. Black households on average have lost more than half their worth in just a few short years, and the wealth gap between blacks and whites is at an historic high. See how they keep going back to the wealth gap, economics. That's why I teach you guys economics. I'm glad that I have a PhD in finance, because I can talk to you about economics, because that's what matters to people. That's what matters. What Malloy neglected to say, so the wealth gap between blacks and whites is at an historic high. What Malloy neglected to say was that racial disparities widened across the socioeconomic spectrum under President Obama's administration. White unemployment dropped while the black structural unemployment rate remained at nearly 50%. The poverty rate for blacks increased to nearly 37%, and their median family incomes declined. Black imprisonment remained above 51%. Black student achievement levels in college enrollment dropped, and the FBI continued reporting that approximately 67% of the nation's hate crimes are committed against Black Americans. With social integration and the Black civil rights movement having failed to significantly eradicate racial disparities, a host on the American Urban Radio Network asked President Obama, what as the most powerful man on earth were his plans for relieving the suffering? Pay attention now. What were his plans for relieving the suffering and desperate conditions within Black America? President Obama quickly responded, quote, I can't pass laws that say I'm going to help Black folks. I am the president of the entire U.S. What I can do is make sure that I am passing laws that help all people, particularly those who are most in need. And so again, people held you up is this almost borderline religious figure, gave you all the support in the world. And when they're telling you, look, we're suffering more than anybody else. We're suffering more than gay people. We're suffering more than Jewish people. We're suffering more than any other group in America. We have been consistent victims, I wouldn't say victims, but we've been consistent targets of various terrorist attacks: economic terrorism, educational terrorism, physical terrorism, social terrorism, psychological terrorism. And you're not doing anything to help protect us the way you would protect us if we were a group of white women complaining because men were looking at our butts, right? Let's see here. So he said, so what does he say after this? He says that these are glorious but misleading statements, but show weakness and indifference toward his own people. So Obama was a very weak president. You have to admit that. He was a smart man, very smart man, but he was very weak. If his intent was to help all people, then he should have helped Black Americans. All means all. Further, Obama chose to give special assistance to Hispanics, Arabs, Jews, American Indians, and LGBTs without passing laws for them. In the instance of American Indians, the Harvest Institute Freedmen Federation filed a lawsuit in 2007. So Dr. Anderson filed a lawsuit because billions of dollars are owed to Black people that relates to the 1866 Indian Treaty, where the Native Americans took all the benefits and kicked the Black Indians out. That's what they passed a certain little provision where the Black slaves who were abused by the Native Americans were not allowed to participate in any of the benefits the Native Americans received. A treaty, an agreement between sovereign nations, is supposed to be the highest law in the land. The 1866 treaties mandated that Black Indians and those Blacks formerly owned as slaves by Indians be treated exactly as non-Black Native Indians are treated. For 8 years, President Obama and his administration ignored the 1866 treaties and the benefits those treaties mandated for Black Indians and Black freedmen. But he used the same laws to settle more than 100 pending legal suits filed by non-Black Native Indians. So Dr. Claude Anderson, spending his own money, filed a lawsuit on behalf of Black folks from the 1866 Indian Treaty, where Black people are owed billions of dollars in reparations for how we were treated. They used to actually, Native Americans used to actually get paid money to hunt down Black people who ran away from plantations and bring back either their dead body or their scalp. And you got paid a certain amount of money for the scalp, a certain amount of money for the body. And so what he's saying here is that when non-Black Native Americans had filed lawsuits, Obama's administration was settling these lawsuits. When the Black lawsuits were filed on behalf of the Black Indians, these lawsuits, according to Dr. Anderson, were ignored by the administration. Couldn't even get a meeting, couldn't even get a sit down with the president, but he sits down with Al Sharpton 60 times, but won't sit down with the most prominent, most intelligent Black economist in the whole city of Washington, D.C., right there in the same city. Wouldn't sit down with Dr. Anderson once, but he'll sit down with Al Sharpton 60 times. That's because Al Sharpton was an employee of President Obama. He worked for him. Claude Anderson ain't working for nobody but Black folks. He's working for you, right? So it's important to kind of know the difference. So President Obama made the front page of major newspapers in 2016 as the tribes celebrated their victory and thanked Obama for remembering the promises he made to them and kept. So again, he didn't tell them, I can't pass laws for you. I'm passing laws for everybody. He would never say that. They would kick his butt for that. He didn't say to LGBT, well, I can't do anything for you. I have to do things for everybody, right? But he said that to Black people because he knows that Black people are going to fall for that. We're going to fall for the okie doke. To Black Americans, he had made two promises. Therefore, scratch that. I said two. I don't know where the two came from. He said to Black Americans, he had made no promises. Therefore, there were no promises to be kept. Throughout 2 years of campaigning and 8 years of being the most powerful man on earth, President Obama rode the racial fence and used flowery rhetoric in the hopes of magically achieving the impossible. He tried to take race out of race matters and racial inequalities. Instead of providing wheelchairs to Blacks historically crippled by mainstream society, President Obama chose to provide wheelchairs to other more socially preferred and less afflicted groups. He left Blacks to hobble on their own. President Obama continued the benign neglect public policies and practices that President Richard Nixon instituted on Black people in 1970. In benign neglect, the government excludes Blacks from public policies by name, but gives the public illusion that they are included within the broad categories of minorities, people of color, and diversity. That's why those terms are all bullshit. They were all created to water you down. Over the course of the past 50 years, these public policies have transmuted into hateful indifference towards Black people. President Obama turning a blind eye toward Black Americans will be a model for all future presidents. Now, you're already seeing it. You've already seen where people in the Trump administration have literally been very bold about it and said, why are you asking us to do more than Obama did? I saw a Trump official on Al Sharpton's show on MSNBC, and I was really fascinated by the fact that he asked the Trump administration official about the wealth gap. Well, what is the Trump administration doing to fix the racial wealth gap? Now, what's fascinating to me about that is he would never ask an Obama administration official what Obama was doing to fix the racial wealth gap. I don't recall him ever asking that question, right? But with Trump, it's like, oh, well, now that the Black man's not here anymore, we're gonna ask these questions, ask you to do things that even a Black president wouldn't do for us, and that just kind of makes us look silly. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me read more here. This is really interesting. This is from the Black History Readers of Dr. Claude Anderson's book. So he says, over the course of the past 50 years, these public policies have transmuted into hateful indifference towards Black people. President Obama's turn a blind eye toward Black Americans will be a model for all future presidents. In the closing months of his presidency, an increasing number of Blacks as well as whites were asking why President Obama had so judiciously avoided identifying with and aiding Blacks. Some speculated that it was because Obama was the first African American, not Black American president, raised outside the continental U.S. and not having the experience of Black enslavement or Jim Crow in his family, could be a partial answer. Others speculate that since he attended Harvard Law School and taught constitutional law, he knew the risks of associating with blackness, yet chose to ignore the principle of electoral politics, which is quid pro quo, something for something. You vote for me, I owe you. Many black voters were feeling betrayed, remembering that Obama placed his hand on the Holy Bible and promised to, quote, represent, protect, and serve all the people. Yet he ignored identification with loyal black voters. He chose instead to identify with and direct resources, not to blacks, but to lower risk groups such as ethnic immigrants, religious groups, LQBT, and gender minorities. And you guys remember, I don't know if you guys saw that, Newsweek actually named Obama the first gay president. Did y'all see that? On Newsweek, there was a gay columnist who literally had a little, the little gay halo over Obama's head. And it had the colors of the gay rainbow flag, or whatever that flag is. And they named Obama the first gay president because they felt that he did so much for gay people that he was pretty much one of them. And who knows? I don't know. I don't know people's sexuality. The thing is that the gay agenda is pretty strong. And the interesting thing about the gay agenda is that it moves in stealth, because I believe a lot of the people that are affiliated are not openly gay. I think that they kind of, in their mind, I really get the sense that the gay community feels that openly gay people will have a harder time pushing the agenda forward than people who are like, those, like closet gay or whatever. So I'm not saying this about Barack. I'll let you kind of guess that or whatever. But I'm talking about like other politicians, like Elena Kagan, who he picked for the Supreme Court. A lot of people felt that she was part of that community as well. Nothing bad. It's not making fun of them. I'm actually telling black people, pay attention. This is how you get things done. So it's not really anti anybody. It's really saying, let's try to be pro-black. So anyway, President Obama will have two landmark legacies. First, as a president, Barack Obama showed that black candidates are qualified to hold the highest office in the nation and can be relied upon to do exactly what any white person holding the office would do in regards to racial matters. Second, Barack Obama will go into the history books as a model for all future white presidents who, in race matters, can say to black Americans, quote, if a black man who was in the White House for 8 years did absolutely nothing to help his own people, why then should a white president feel obligated to do anything? If a black man is colorblind to blackness, why shouldn't whites also be colorblind to blackness? Such a legacy will be difficult to explain to future generations of black voters. So that's kind of the take. I think that what probably is going to happen is that those of you who are actually really thinking about these issues seriously, you're going to probably just be cursed by knowing too much. And what's going to suck is that you're going to go out into the world where people don't know much of anything, and they're going to say things that are going to sound ridiculous and crazy and ignorant. And all I can do is say, stay diligent, continue to spark debates, support freedom of thought. It's not a matter of telling people to be Democrats or Republicans. It's a matter of telling them to understand the game that they're playing, understand how to vote in their own interest. Because again, you can't criticize some toothless hillbilly in backwoods Tennessee who supported Trump, even though his daddy's on Obamacare. You can't make fun of those people for not voting in their interest while black people do the same damn thing. Seriously. Like we're like, all these rednecks, they support these Republicans and they're trying to cut Obamacare and they need Obamacare. They're just stupid. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people that will look at black people and say, look at what black people are doing. They're supporting these politicians who don't even care about them. And so they're voting against their own interests. They're just stupid. Or this lady who goes to church every Sunday and believes deeply in the Bible and doesn't believe in abortion is supporting a Democrat who basically said, if you don't want the baby, just kill the little motherfucker. I mean, I'm not saying that's what you should believe or shouldn't believe, but everybody gets caught looking like a hypocrite. If you really analyze it for real, if you really break it down. The difference is that you're used to seeing other people's hypocrisy, but you can't see your own. Even the conversation about fear mongering, there are people that will legitimately accuse Trump and the Republicans of fear mongering, which they are. That's what they're doing. They had this ad where they were using this scary Hispanic guy to kind of get everybody scared of this caravan that's coming up north. But, every time the election comes around, all the Democrats do is fear monger. They don't approach you with logic. My God, logic would never work. They don't explain to you why you should support them. What they do is they explain to you why the Republicans are going to destroy your life and why it's going to be the end of the world, why black people are going to go straight to hell in the handbasket, why another term by Trump is just going to destroy the black community. Well, you know what? My position is that black people we are some resilient motherfuckers. We don't survive George Washington and all these damn white presidents who literally owned us. We have survived the KKK. We have survived Jim Crow. We survived the Middle Passage. If we can survive all that shit, we can survive another term of Donald Trump. I'm not trying to say I want that to happen, but I'm trying to say he's been in office, what, how many years now? Two years now, something like that. We still here. You still, if you're working at the post office now, you was probably working at the post office when Trump got elected. You know, if you're having your kids read 2 hours every night, you're probably still doing it. Trump's soldiers didn't show up at your door and say, we no longer allow Negroes to read. If you're running your business, if you were running it in 2016, you're running your business now. You know, if your life was fucked up in 2016, it's probably fucked up now, right? So the question becomes, at what point does it all become an illusion? At what point does it all just become political theater? At what point do you kind of say, I'm exiting the game? I'm detaching from the nonsense. If you want my vote, you must earn my vote. You cannot earn my vote by telling me how terrible the other person is. I don't want to hear about them. I want to hear about you. Tell me why you are the best person for me to support, and I'll think about it. But if you open your mouth one time and tell me that the reason I should vote for you is because the other person is so terrible, scary, and horrible, they're going to ruin my life, then you ain't nothing but a motherfucking pimp. You ain't nothing but a pimp. That's all a pimp would do. A pimp would just, imagine, ladies, imagine if a man was like, I know I beat your ass and I cuss you out every day and I don't respect you and I ignore you and I don't call you except once a month when I want some sex. But that guy over there is really worse than me. Like, you should really be with me, because if you're not with me, then ain't nobody gonna want you. You can't do better than me. You with him, my God, he might kill you. He's a really terrible person. Look at what he did. Look at what he did to his ex-girlfriend, right? That's not an appealing set of options. That's not going to make you want to love that man if he's telling you that the only reason you should be with him is because the other guy is so terrible, right? So a better approach would be for him to explain to you what his merits happen to be. And so I think the Democrats have to approach black people with a little more respect. Stop approaching us like pimps. Stop trying to play with people's minds. They're not going to stop. I'm saying they should stop, but really, if I were them, I wouldn't stop. And let me tell you why I wouldn't stop if I were them. Because there are millions of people out here that are fish. There are millions of people that are going to look at Common's little meme, and if your vote didn't matter, they would be trying so hard to keep you from voting, right? They're going to look at that meme and they're going to use like third grader logic, and they're going to be like, oh, that's right. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, that's so smart. That's so witty. And it's not witty when you really go to the surface, or go beneath the surface. The vote does matter. The question is, who benefits from the vote? We know votes matter, but black people do not benefit. Why? Well, because the votes may matter, but black people don't matter. Black issues don't matter. Black communities don't matter, and they don't matter to the parties that you support. That's why you have to figure out how you're going to position yourself in this political game. So anyway, that's it. I'm about to go, guys. Hit the thumbs up button, share button, subscribe button. Take a second, please do that. Please, please, please. Also, consider joining our League of Intelligent Black People. We're bringing back Black intelligence, and we're asking you to help us support Black media. So please share this on your social media, start conversations. Don't pick fights, but get out here and really exercise your right to freedom of speech. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. You just share your point of view. And if you want to join the League of Intelligent Black People, go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And last but not least, I want to say no disrespect to Common. I don't know Common. I don't know if Common knows me. I probably know people that know Common and Kanye, because we're all in Chicago. And it's no disrespect. Angela Rye, that's a whole nother story. Angela Rye's not a good person, but Common seems like a nice person. I just think he's just a little misguided at times. How about that? All right. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.